Hey all, Matt from the Mistake Zone here, and I am here once again to drop some of my thoughts on the interesting anime that are going to be debuting in the 2024 winter anime season. As always, this is more so a video for debuting anime, but I think it's always worth doing some quick hits on the big returning anime. Classroom of the Elite is getting a third season, Kingdom is getting a fifth season, Urusei Yatsura is coming back for a second season, and the one that I'm looking forward to the most, Dangers in My Heart, is coming back for a second season. Also coming in the winter season is a follow-up to Shaman King called Shaman King Flowers. For those that don't know, Shaman King is a series which had two animes. Both series started the same way, but at some point deviated from each other. Very similar to Full Metal Alchemist and Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, where the 2001 series of Shaman King at some point caught up to the manga and then deviated to create an anime-only plotline, and then the anime remake in 2021 fully follows the manga, and Shaman King Flowers is a sequel to the 2021 manga storyline. Shaman King Flowers is going to take place years after the end of the 2021 Shaman King storyline, and it follows one of the descendants of Yo and Anna. The 2001 Shaman King series is one of the first anime I ever watched fully subbed, so this has a lot of personal value to me, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how this series goes. Now, there are three new debuting anime that I don't want to spend too much time on. I want to kind of just do quick hits. The first one is, of course, Solo Leveling. I did a whole video about just solo leveling, which I think you should, check out. But if you're looking for a kind of good shonen-y storyline, you should really definitely check out Solo Leveling. Another shonen-y one that I want to hit is The Wrong Way to Use Healing Magic. I really like the concept of this series. Unfortunately for me, the series itself just never clicked with me, but I know that it is a popular series with a lot of people who like shonen manga. It is a really good take on, honestly, I think, the correct way to use healing magic, where you punch somebody, and if they punch you back, you heal yourself, and you punch them again. And the third one that I want to hit is a harem anime that I feel like, just because of the Mistake Zone, I have to put on here. Hokkaido gals are super adorable. I feel like Jaren from the Mistake Zone has a very complicated relationship with this show, and he's stuck with the series for so long that I feel like it deserves a spot to get mentioned with the rest of these 2024 winter anime. So when I was browsing through what is going to be coming out in the 2024 anime season, one anime original in particular caught my eye. This show is Metallic Rouge, a slightly cyberpunky story that takes place on Mars. It is a show where our main character pair are hunting anti-government androids, and it does have a very mechy vibe to it. From what I can grasp in this show, at least one of the main characters and the enemies they're facing are able to take on mech forms and fight each other. The fights themselves look very interesting, the suits themselves look very interesting, and the overall design of the show itself looks very appealing. It's really giving tacked up Destiny meets mech vibes, and I'm really into that. And since it's hitting so many of these buttons for me, I'm really hoping that this turns out well. I feel like last season there wasn't a trashy isekai or a overly long title anime that I was particularly excited about, so I'm glad that this season those two things have been combined into one. With my instant death ability is so overpowered, no one in this other world stands a chance. And I know it's a big sticking point for a lot of people on anime titles being summaries for the series, but personally I am way into it. And my instant death ability is so overpowered, no one in the other world stands a chance is a perfect description for this show. This is a isekai with an overpowered main character that just has to think it and his target dies. There's no real caveat to the power other than he has to know who the target is. It's literally it. The standard isekai where the main character just drops people. Huge monster is about to attack, it's dead. Some annoying NPC is bothering the main character, they're dead. It's a very straightforward anime, and it's very early One Punch Man-y with regards to how conflict is handled. So I want to drop 2 minor spoilers for this show, because I think it's kind of important with regards to whether or not you want to check out the show. Plus, these are spoilers that I would expect to show up in episode 1, maybe early episode 2, depending on what the pacing they decide to use is. But the first one is that this is the type of isekai where a bunch of people are isekai'd at once and given powers. It is like a whole class of children, and yeah, they're brought into another world. The second is that the main character has always had the instant death power. So I would say that the show itself is divided into 3 general plot points to get explored. The actual story of the isekai world itself, the experience of the other isekai characters, and thirdly is the story of the main character and their power origins. And the series itself, for the most part, is pretty non-serious. It is kind of a light isekai comedy adventure. So I think if you like junk food isekai, this will definitely be up your alley. And I guess kind of speaking of junk food, there's that age-old question of what is the best tasting Pokemon? And I always thought that was a little bit of the wrong way to go with regards to that thinking. And while I think you can compare Pokemon meat, I think it's more important to think about how the Pokemon will be prepared. For example, I would take a chicken katsu over a pork katsu most of the time, but I'd rather have a pork ramen over a chicken ramen. And I think Delicious in the Dungeon takes the correct step towards how to eat monsters, because it's more so about what's a good dish to make from a monster. The story itself is a very classic dungeon dive story with a Dungeons and Dragons-esque world flavoring. Basically, our main characters are broke. They have to save their friend who's trapped in a dungeon, so logically the best way to save money is, instead of buying food, just eat the things you're going to kill anyway. Honestly, makes perfect sense. For the most part, the show itself is a very light humor show. It is like 33% adventure, 33% cooking, and then 33% character interaction. It balances itself very well, and I think if I were to compare it to something kind of recent, Handyman Sato in Another World is, I think, a very good comparison. So if you're looking for a light adventure series with a nice diverse cast, a large cast of monsters, and a bunch of lunch or dinner ideas, this is definitely the anime to go to. But while we're on the topic of food, I think that my most anticipated anime within this list is "'Tis Time for Torture Princess." First off, if the show is anything like the manga, the first few chapters are going to be kind of pervert forward, which is unfortunate because that gets, phased out later and is not a real representation of the show. But secondly, I think you should stick with it, even if you're not into the pervy stuff, because I think this is a great gag manga. Because if you told me that the basic plot for 90% of the chapters in this manga is that they tricked the princess into giving demons who kidnapped her valuable information by teasing her with food, toys, or activities, I would tell you that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. How could that possibly be good and not get boring? And then I fell 200 chapters into this manga and realized I was wrong. This is a gag manga series where everyone in the show is honestly some level of idiot, and it plays really, really well. These situations are all dumb and non-serious enough that it plays in a really fun way, and I think the idiocy in this cast is very similar to the level of idiocy that makes Konosuba's cast very fun to watch. To be honest, the thing that weirds me out the most about this as an anime is that it's listed as a TV show instead of as a short. So I'm interested in seeing what the actual length of the episodes is going to be. Because I could easily see this being one of those 7-minute short animes, or I could easily see it being one of those shows where they link together 2 or 3 chapters of a manga and make it one coherent story. Kind of like what Horimiya Piece did, or again, Handyman Saito did. But yeah, as a piece of comedy, as, just characters, as, weirdly enough, being a good parent, this is a great show that hits on so many levels, and I really, really think that if they are able to nail how the manga feels within the anime, that this is going to be kind of meme central in terms of screenshots. And if you kind of didn't have enough of a slice of life gag manga fill from Torture Princess, I think Mr. Villain's Day Off is where you should go next. Mr. Villain is another slice of life gag comedy series, but this is about what our titular Mr. Villain does when he is not working on taking over the Earth. He, like everybody should, takes his time off very seriously and totally separates his job from his non-job life. He wants nothing to do with his job while he's not on the clock. And he just follows his whims and does whatever he wants, whether it's having ice cream, going to the mall, seeing pandas, or fist bumping Earthling kids. I think the vibes of the show are very similar to Torture Princess, with one major difference, where in Torture Princess, everybody and the world itself are kind of playing the funny man, and they're all playing off each other in different ways. Whereas in Mr. Villain is more of the straight man in a funny man world, and that is where its comedy is coming from. So I think that if you end up liking either Mr. Villain or Torture Princess, you should really check out the other, because I think they are very similar within that regard. But the next two that I want to talk about are the two that I think are probably going to be the big talks of the season, minus like the big stuff like solo leveling. The first one is Gushing Over Magical Girls. If you ever wanted a BDSM magical girl show, do I have good news for you. In this series, our main character, who really quote-unquote admires magical girls, is tricked into and blackmailed into becoming a magical girl that works for evil. And of course, in classic magical girl rules, with the good side being the kind of cutesy theming, of course the evil side has to have the more dommy theming. And it really, really does push the dom theming really, really hard in this show. So if you've been searching for a kind of Yuri-esque S&M magical girl show, this is perfect for you. But stepping past the kind of pervert-forward nature of the show, which is why I think this is going to be one of the more talked about shows initially this season, the designs of the monsters or the summons or the tools that they use in this show are, I think, really, really good. I think if you took something that's kind of like Madoka Magica and mixed it with FLCL, you would end up with what the design style for this show is. And I really, really hope that the style for the anime is able to capture the style that they showed off in the manga. Because I think that if they really, really nail it, a lot of people are going to be drawn to this show for reasons outside of being a pervert. So, if you are the type to want to watch a shy girl come to terms with her hidden sadist self and look cool while doing it, this is probably the magical girl anime for you to check out. But if you wanted to take a step away from the more sadistic Yuri side of Gushing Over Magical Girls, you can come towards the more switch-oriented side with Chained Soldier. And I feel like I have to say, while it's an accurate description of the show, Chained Soldier is one of the most generic names I have ever seen, and I wish this anime had a better English name. I am also legitimately surprised that this is getting a proper anime. Because if you wanted an anime that was 50% shonen, 50% harem, and 100% hentai plot scenarios with 0% of the actual sex, then this is 100% the anime for you. So, within this show, within the world of this show, only women are able to get superpowers. But, of course, it being a harem anime, a male is able to work his way into the system and get powers for himself. The way he is able to use powers is that one of the other characters puts a chain on him, and he is able to kind of transform and use superpowers. A quirk that they end up finding out is that whoever is controlling him through the chain, he is able to exhibit different powers. So he is passed around between several superpowered women. So you can quickly see how this is quickly veering into a harem anime. And then the thing that brings in the kind of more pervert-oriented nature of this show is that after using our male main character, honestly, basically as a tool, the woman who decided to use him has to pay him back. And this is through basically forced hypnosis, where she now has to, willingly or unwillingly, depending on the character, has to perform whatever the guy wants her to do. And it kind of just through the series escalates into more and more perverted stuff. And honestly, at some point it just gets really, really wild. But I am legitimately excited for this anime, not only for pervert reasons, but because I think that the shonen half of this anime is actually very good. The powers that they decided to incorporate into this series, I think, are all really fun powers. The series itself has a bunch of fights within it. I'm really, really hoping that it is handled well, because I think that this series itself, from a shonen perspective, has a lot to offer. And I think that the fights have a lot of, exciting moments within them that I think are going to transition very well into an animated medium. But I still am legitimately interested in seeing how far they decide to push the kind of ecchi nature of the show. But yeah, those are the series that really stood out to me when I was looking over the 2024 winter anime season list. As always, if you have any questions, comments, or clarifications on these or any of the other 2024 winter animes that I mentioned, drop a message in the comments. If you have any suggestions for anime that I didn't talk about that you think I should check out, let me know through the comments as well. And if you made it this far into the video, I want to say thanks for watching the video, and I hope that one of the anime that I'm looking forward to this season has become one of the anime that you're looking forward to this season. So, as always, this has been the Mistake Zone, and we still have a lot of winter 2024 anime to watch.